I say climate change, what do you think of? Blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah. Blah, 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 blah. We can no longer let the people in power decide. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. But it starts with blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. This is all we hear from our so-called leaders. Words that sound great, but just look at the numbers. We can no longer let the people in power decide. What do you think? It's not blah, blah, blah. Of course we need constructive dialogue, but they now have 30 years of blah, blah, blah. They invite cherry-picked young people to meetings like this to pretend that they are listening. This is not about some expensive, politically correct green act of blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B, there is no planet blah. Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Green economy, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. But it starts with blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Fighting climate change calls for innovation, cooperation. They say they want solutions, and they're not holding leaders accountable for their action, or rather inaction. Blah, blah. We need to walk the talk. Blah, 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 blah. If this is what they consider to be climate action, then we don't want it. Blah, blah, blah. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah. Build back better. Blah, blah, blah. Green economy. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. But it starts with blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For this photograph of Spike Cohen, I am Matt
I'm here.
Wright.
I'll be right down. Be right there.
And together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Yes.
Thank you, kids.
Hi,
for
I'll be
being
right back. Hey, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. No matter what social media platform you are watching on right now, whether it is YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it is Twitch, if you're watching us on Twitch, if you're watching us on Float, be sure to like, comment, share. Like, comment, share. LCR. I feel like that was probably banned at some point.
That's share spelled with an S. But
Yes.
LCS, the R would be
Yes.
reshare.
Reshare.
Retweet.
LCS.
Retweet on Twitter. It's LCS on Facebook, LCR on Twitter. I'll be there.
I'm so close to figuring out how to make this LCD sound system. But wherever you are, please like it, please comment, please share. Tell all of your friends about Muddied Waters. Make sure that wherever you are watching it, your phone is exploding with notifications anytime we go live, even when they're accidental, because you deserve to see it all. No matter what.
You deserve to see.
You
things
deserve to see
that we
everything.
Shouldn't even tell you about. Are we
Yeah,
not on? We're not live on. Are we live on Twitter? Are we? We're right there on Twitter.
Yeah, we're live on Twitter.
I'll be right back. I'm sharing it and retweet. I'm listening to your advice. Oh wow, Matt! I can't wait to live to LCR on all of the major social media platforms. That's what I'm doing right now.
LCR everywhere. Because remember, as this photograph of Spike always says, kids love it. Kids love it. Yes, like, comment, distribute, share. LCD sound system.
Yes. Okay.
We're almost there.
Almost.
Good enough.
There we go. Hey,
We're good.
everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to this amazing episode. Do all the stuff Matt just said. First,
What?
first and foremost.
Oh, first and foremost. Yeah, you're right. Everything's backwards. First and foremost, if you haven't guessed, I'm streaming this week, which I haven't done for this episode, for this show in a while. First and foremost, allow me to thank the wonderful and fine people at knockemalathome.com for the kava that I am drinking on this fantastic episode.
And allow me to thank Spectrum for shutting down minutes before we were supposed to go live, thereby making the show take even longer than usual to go live and have this really great angle. This is a fantastic angle to do a show at. I love it. And I also, anyway. So, also, Le Bleu, delicious purified drinking water from I don't know where this comes from. Buluvanaka.
Before we get into this episode, we here at Muddied Waters have to pay some bills, so let's get started.
Yes.
First and foremost, allow us to thank Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing and second largest caucus in the Libertarian Party. If you are not yet, I don't have those in this because I haven't done this one in a while.
And if you'd like to become a member of the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, then all you have to do is go to the exclusive Facebook group, Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus. You can also go to the muddiedwatersmedia.store if you'd like to become an official voting member by going to muddiedwatersmedia.com/store and buying some Waffle House Caucus merch. We have buttons and we have hats, shirts. We have shirts.
No, I was saying I don't have the Muddied Waters store and the anchor in this because I haven't used this one in months.
That's fine.
Yeah,
we'll do it then.
The Gravy
King. Thomas. Oh, Thomas. Thomas Queter is running for state senate in the 52nd District of New York. He's a dear friend, and I love him very much, Thomas. I love you. And he says that he runs better than Albany, and I believe him because he is a good person, and he do a great job. If you go to tomfor52.com, you can help him today. That's TOMFOR52.com. And also, next month, I will be at some events in New York helping to promote his campaign for state senate.
Yes, that will be fun. I'm certain I can guess which week Tom will be on my show. Jack Casey. Oh, look at that.
Jack Casey. At my left shoulder.
That's right.
Jack Casey has written these books. What are they about? I'll never, ever find out or read them. But I'm sure they're great in their own special way. And you should read them too. TheRoyalGreen.com. Actually, we're told they're really good books. But we have a very special, very valid reason for why we're not going to read them. If they're bad, we're going to feel bad for trying to get you to buy them. And if they're good, we're going to feel bad for making fun of them every week. So actually twice a week, multiple times a week. So we're just not going to read them, but you should go to theroyalgreen.com. Get them today. The Royal Green, in silver throned and crowned in by gold. Joe Solaski is running to be the next governor of Pennsylvania. Joe Solaski is the key to Pennsylvania's success. And if you'd like to help Joe become the first libertarian governor ever, then go to JoeSoloski. That's joesoloski.com. Stitches and glitches and defy the power. They have tumblers. They're, boy howdy, do they have tumblers. And they're the highest quality, boy howdy tumblers you'll ever have. They keep your hots hot, your colds cold. And somehow it magically knows which one they are and keeps them that way. Also, if you use the code MONEYTumbler, you get 10% off. But even more insane than that, they customize for free. They don't charge you extra, no matter how much you have them customize it. And if you see how much they can customize these things, that's freaking incredible. Stitchesandglitches.com and defythepower.com.
And if you use code Muddy Tumbler, you get 10% off. And that coupon code Muddy Tumbler for 10% off doesn't apply to customizations because they're free. And also
Because they're free.
But also it expires October 31st. So if you want to get 10% off of fantastic Christmas shopping done, do it before Sunday. Do it before Sunday. That code expires on Sunday at midnight, I'm guessing. I don't know. So get that in and make sure you get all of your loved ones fantastic tumblers for the holiday season.
Yes, get them in now because thanks to Joe Biden, the supply chain is not doing well.
So
I know it's no longer the heyday of back in the 4th of July when your dinner cost 16 cents less. No, we're now in a nightmare scenario where it costs 16 cents more. And where everything's very hard to get. So go ahead and order it now, and it should be here in time for Christmas, hopefully.
Maybe. Did you see Al Franken? Never mind. We're not going to talk about that. Al Franken. Yeah, we are. Al Franken was on.
We're not going to talk about it.
Al Franken was on. I think it was CNN. It may have been MSNBC, but he was talking about inflation and how things are costing more at the grocery store and the gas station, and he was essentially saying, "Yeah, these things cost more, but it's okay because you'll have free childcare."
That'll help me since I don't have children.
Right.
Yeah. These people have lost their minds. Actually, no, they haven't. I keep, we like to think they're silly or crazy or stupid. They're liars.
They know
like
what
they
they're
just
doing.
straight up lie to you.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. So I'm going to, since the Democrats really started pushing talk on the big reset back in 2016, I was like, this isn't a thing. This isn't. Sorry, I just got a text message from Superfan Sarah Andrag, and we got a new puppy. We got a very cute new puppy. He's 4 months old. He's 18 pounds. And she just texted me, his farts smell awful. And I have experienced those already in the car ride when I picked him up and brought him back. And she is not lying. They are god awful. And now I have a dog to blame it on.
Speaking of Al Franken.
But yeah, he was saying that that because of this, we're gonna be fine. Oh yeah, the Great Reset. I was like, I don't really believe in this Great Reset thing. It's conspiracy theory, blah blah blah. The later that we get into this, and you start seeing the inflation, and everybody saying no, it's fine. There was a company. I saw this earlier today. There's a company. I don't remember which company it is, but they were saying this is what America is going to be like in 2030. You don't rent, you own. Or sorry, you don't own, you rent.
You rent everything.
You rent everything, and you're happy about it. And and God, all of your packages are delivered by drones. Like, I was like, I mean, I don't want my packages delivered by drones. I want the stoner kid that works at DHL to deliver it because he needs weed money.
I mean, we could try to get him to operate the drone though. He might make even more. They've said the big stuff is, you're not owning is going to be for the ultra rich. And if it's just in case you wanted to try to save anything or invest anything, they're going to tax your unrealized gains, which of course won't apply to the ultra rich who will put all their money in stuff that they get exempted or get loopholes for, or just move all their money out of the country where they don't have to worry about that anymore. This is just it's the Great Reset is. I think the end part of what some people say it is wrong, but I mean they're definitely using COVID as an excuse. They finally found the ultimate crisis, and they're using it as an excuse to push everything that no one would have ever accepted. And to see a large minority of people be perfectly cool with anything that they do. Just underscores how important it is for us to resist these things, because it doesn't take everyone resisting. It only takes a relatively small group of people, but it's not going to change with elections. It's at least not now. It's not going to change with elections. It's not going to change with public. It can change with public pressure in elections longer term, but right now, for at least the next 2, 3, 4 years, you've got to just not not comply with it.
Yeah, exactly. How was Oklahoma? Since I have you.
Oklahoma was great. Yeah, Oklahoma was great. Had some great events with Natalie Bruno. Got to hang out with Larry Sharp, who's always fantastic. I'll be with Larry Sharp in New York as well. And then I was in Sarasota, actually Bradenton, Florida. I flew into Sarasota, but I was in Bradenton on
Were
yesterday.
You were in Bradenton?
Yeah, it's the Manatee County Council I spoke at.
Oh, I thought that was in Sarasota, but I guess that wouldn't be Manatee.
I thought it was too. I flew into Sarasota and I stayed in Sarasota, but the Manatee County Council is in Bradenton. So I went there and I spoke about the snitching bill. They took SB 8 and tried to make it into a county bill. After talking to some of the council members or board members afterwards, I'm pretty sure we killed that. And now I'm back here hating Spectrum.
You should just move to Florida where we don't have. Do I have Spectrum? I don't even know who I have. I might have Spectrum. I just know they take money from me every month.
But at least I'd be in Florida.
But you'd be in Florida. And really, if the internet went down, well, the other person wouldn't be able to stream it. So we just have the night off because we'd be together.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we could strategically live just far enough apart where we're not on the same grid. So if one of our internet went down, we could go to the other one's house.
That's true.
Unless you want to live together.
I don't think our significant others would enjoy that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, they definitely.
They
didn't even like the group hug. Well, actually, Tasha wasn't a part of it, but
Sarah was not a fan of the group hug.
She was not a fan of the group hug. Anyway.
So that brings us.
That brings us to the muddy. Oh.
To the Mudwater Mushroom Coffee Replacement Cacao Rapid Fire segment, brought to you by Mudwater.
Mudwater. If you woke up.
Go ahead. I'm so used to doing it when I'm streaming. Go ahead.
If you woke up today, folks, and said, "My God, Spike, why are you in front of me when I wake up?" Well, we'll figure that out later. But then you say, "Hey, Spike, while you're here, I don't think I want coffee anymore. I want something totally different, but a similar consistency. And I want it to be made out of masala chai, cacao, mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, and literally nothing else." Well, folks, great news. Number one, I'm leaving. I'm not going to stay there while you wake up. I'm not even sure why I was there, but also,
what if they're at your house?
You can use this stuff. Oh, wow. Why'd you? Yeah. Second of all, get out of my house. How about that? Okay.
But I'll make you some Mudwater.
Third
first.
of all, yeah, and when you're leaving, try some Mudwater. It's got those things, and it tastes like something that you would want to put honey in. And if you go to muddywatersmedia.com/mud, you can experience the joy that I get from drinking Mudwater, and you can have the pep in your step like this. But
not.
Yes, but not end up having a crash at the end of the day like this. Okay. That's harder to do when it's not me doing it.
Right. Since I'm barely paying attention when you do it. So we've already seen this story. It broke on Sunday, and well, that's not true. First of all, we broke this story in early October. We broke it like right around October 5th. We posted about it, and I think we discussed it a little bit, but it really got overshadowed because it was at the exact same time that Australian police officers shot a bunch of dogs because they didn't want people from the pound leaving to come and try to rescue them.
Yes.
So we actually touched on this a while ago, but now it's kind of become bigger news, so we're gonna touch on it again. Dr. Fauci is an evil human.
Yeah.
Great evil. He has been condemned by bipartisanly, tripartisanly, omnipartisanly.
Multi-partisan, polypartisan.
Omni's everywhere, right? Omni?
Yes.
Yeah, omnipartisanly. He has been condemned omnipartisanly for using taxpayers' dollars to fund evil animal experiments. And when I made this image, I said this image is a bit disturbing, so be warned. But since then, if you're watching this show, I guarantee you have seen this all over your feed. Well, these images all over your feed.
But still.
Oop, not that one.
Oh,
that
that's
one's
a nightmare.
not disturbing. That is not disturbing. Go to muddywatersmedia.com/mud. 3 separate studies that we know of so far. 3 separate studies that we know of. One from the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia. One from SRI International in Menlo Park, California. And one in Tunisia, Africa. That one is the one that everybody sees the photos of. All 3 of them absolutely terrible. Many of them are causing harms to beagles. The one in SRI International, they were cutting the vocal cords of beagles because the sounds of them barking was too annoying while they were torturing them.
Torturing them, yeah. To death.
To death.
Yeah.
Now, in one of the images, you saw beagles trapped in cages so flies could eat them. Another one, they were being debarked before being pumped with drugs and killed. And one of the most disturbing incidents funded by Fauci's National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases involved taxpayer money given to a Tunisian research lab. And puppies had their heads held in cages before being left for sandflies to eat them alive for research purposes. Now, I have no idea what research that is. But that sounds like serial killer shit.
Yeah, no, the people that would do this to animals would do this to people. Incidentally, they also, at least in Tunisia, they also had some of the puppies and would tether them or I guess cage them out in the middle of the desert to attract the sandflies that they needed for this study, and many of them would die from exposure because they would go out there and then they would die from exposure, and then the sandflies would be all over them, and they'd capture the sandflies. Many people know, I'm sure most of the people watching this know, that animal testing exists in for drugs. This is not new. Animal testing is not new. It's usually done on rats, and also dogs aren't really all that similar to humans in terms of their reactions to drugs. So there wasn't really any reason to use this for dogs instead of like rats or something like that. Also, when it comes to this with the dogs, they were doing this to to test an anti-parasitic drug. There are already animals that have parasites. Like, that's actually very common. Our dogs used to get parasites all the time because we live near the woods, and the rabbits will, they poop on the grass, and the dogs walk through it and they get it on their paws. And that's actually, I mean, dogs get parasites all the time. There could have been if they had to test it on dogs, which they don't. There would be so much more. There are already dogs that need anti-parasites. So why not either test it on them or find a somewhat more humane way to give parasites to dogs than this.
Right. Now, some of the other tests that aren't in the notes, because I did these notes thinking the show was yesterday and then remembered it wasn't. Um, some of the other tests were they were using some sort form of acid to inject into monkeys' brains in order to increase the amount of terror they would feel. And for anybody who has watched the latest season of Titans or any Batman related thing having to do with Scarecrow, you probably understand where they got that idea from. And
Yep.
also, not in the notes, but I'm going to try to remember everything that I read about here. Uh, Back in 2009, a story broke where Fauci and the NIH approved funding to give orphan children with AIDS test drugs in order to find out if it would help cure their AIDS. And they never told their guardians that they were doing this. I believe 25% of those people died, of those kids died. So when you talk about how Fauci screwed up AIDS in the 80s, because he
Hmm.
did. Fauci screwed up
Yes.
AIDS in the 80s.
Oh,
And
big time.
big time. Made it so much worse. He created so much homophobia. He created so much
Yep.
fear. He kind of created the word homophobia because of how he treated the AIDS epidemic.
Yep.
He took orphaned children and did experimental tests on them because I'm certain he would never say this, but as he was probably thinking, nobody's going to care.
Yep.
So,
Yep. They're orphan kids with AIDS. Who cares about them? Keep in mind, this is Anthony Fauci, the man who was hated by the LGBT community for decades because he is the one who caused the gay panic around AIDS. He
yes.
said, and he would always use the same qualifier he uses now. We don't know if, and then he'd say stuff like, "We don't know if AIDS can be spread from casual contact or even through the air." People were horrified at being near a gay man for fear of getting AIDS from them by being near them. And that is something that has continued on. There are still people to this day who insist that you can get AIDS from casual contact with gay people. And that is as a direct result of Anthony Fauci and what he did 40 years ago. And the fact that he wasn't fired for that and instead is now the highest paid single employee of the US federal government and is continuing to cause widespread torture and harm, including the very real possibility that he funded the gain of function research that potentially led to the creation of COVID, that's just perfect for government. That lines up perfectly with exactly what it takes to get fired by government.
And what a perfect segue, because as we covered a couple of weeks ago, the NIH had been funding an eco health. Did we ever decide?
Eco Health Alliance.
Eco Health
Yeah.
Eco Health Alliance project that was conducting gain of function research. And we all know that Fauci was consistently sitting there in Congress talking with Senator Paul, going, "No, Senator,
Yep.
you are the liar. Everything you are saying is ignorant," or whatever. I don't know. We all.
Yes. Yeah.
But now the NIH is saying that Eco Health Alliance wasn't being transparent about how they were using the funds they were being given.
Mm.
The NIH principal deputy director Lawrence Tabak wrote in the letter that EcoHealth's limited experiment tested whether spike proteins from naturally occurring bat coronaviruses circulating in China were capable of binding to the human ACE2 receptor in a mouse model. The admission from the NIH official contradicts Fauci's testimony in Congress in May and July.
Mm-hmm.
Where he denied that the U.S. had funded anything like that in Wuhan. And Rand Paul, a man of, when he wins, he's modest about it. not at all over the top or braggart like when
No.
he is proven correct. Um, he tweeted over the letter and he said, "I told you so" doesn't even begin to cover it when the letter became public.
Yes. And he deserved that because it was very clear and apparent months ago that the NIH funded, and specifically the NIAID, which is the organization that Fauci is in charge of and has been for decades, uh, was funding gain of function research. That letter, incidentally, as much of a bombshell admission as it was, they tried their best to bury the real meat of it, which is what was uncovered by the Intercept Freedom of Information Act request by the Intercept, Glenn Greenwald's organization, where they found out that not only did they do virus testing, they actually created a chimera. I think I'm saying that correctly. Basically, a hybrid of two different viruses, and use that. And that when that letter says, "Oh, they didn't disclose that it was making bats sicker," what they didn't actually disclose, they were supposed to say whether there was a 10% increase or more, or a tenfold increase or more of the amount of viral load from the virus they were creating in the bats. There was a 10,000-fold increase, and they didn't disclose that. So not only was this gain of function research, but it was deadly gain of function research that, because it was being used in humanized it was being used on humanized mice. That means that they knew it could spread to humans.
Mm-hmm.
So they made a virus that had at least 10,000-fold increase of viral load than normal coronaviruses, that they knew could spread to humans because they created it. And the government, and in that letter, they said, well, we know that this isn't the virus that ended up leading to SARS-CoV-2 because it's only 96% similar to it. And if you think about it, well, humans and chimps are 96% similar, and we diverged hundreds of thousands of years ago. So there's no way that, or millions of years ago. So there's no way that it could have spread that way. What they didn't say is that humans evolved painfully slowly over the course of hundreds of generations, and that viruses viruses evolve and mutate in a matter of hours and days. So could be. And this is only one gain of function test that we know of. They could have done more, and we just haven't uncovered them yet. But the fact is that in Wuhan, China, where an outbreak of a coronavirus, unlike the likes of which we've never seen before, there was at least one organization being funded by the U.S. government that was creating coronaviruses, the likes of which we'd never seen before.
Speaking of somebody who's full of shit, Joe Biden had a town hall with CNN's Anderson Cooper this week.
Yes.
Last week. I think like a week from today. And even as SNL stated, nobody watched it. SNL made fun of Biden for nobody watching the town hall. So let's go into a little bit. Let's go into a little bit about what Biden said and what's factual. Biden said gas prices relate to a foreign policy initiative that is about something that goes beyond the cost of gas. And we're about $3.30 a gallon most places now, when it's up from when it was down in the single digits. I mean, a dollar plus, and that's because of the supply being withheld by OPEC.
He said that?
That is a direct quote. Even the parts that sounded like I messed up reading, that is what is typed right here.
He came up with that on the spot.
Oh, I think he did for most of these that we're going to go into. Now,
holy crap. OPEC. Okay, I'll let you say it because you've got the yeah.
So obviously, demand for gas has soared recently. More people are out traveling. Coronavirus we're at the tail end of it. People are going back to work. People are traveling.
Right.
So the demand for gas is higher, which obviously that's going to drive prices higher.
Right.
The supply of gas hasn't kept pace with that demand, and issues ranging from hurricanes to the cyber attack on the what was that pipeline?
The one on the East Coast, it affected
Yeah,
most of
right.
the Eastern Seaboard. Yeah.
They've also hampered the distribution of fuel for weeks at a time. And while OPEC has not increased production to meet rising global demand, the fact that the U.S. has not ramped up domestic production, and some experts blame Biden's policies for discouraging drilling, have also added to this issue because oil is usually priced out on futures.
Right.
I believe always. I don't know why I said usually.
It's priced out in futures.
Right. So when you're saying, yeah, I'm going to end all leases for drilling and nobody should be drilling and we're not going to go into our stock on what we have.
Mm-hmm.
People who make the prices go, well, that means that we aren't going to have as much oil going out. So we need to raise the price on what's out there.
Also, OPEC, yes, they haven't increased production. They're at all-time highs for production. They're producing, in some cases, double their quota that they've set within OPEC. I can't believe he blamed OPEC. OPEC is pumping out oil more so than what is in their best interest in terms of price stabilization. Like, I can't believe he blamed OPEC. That would be like blaming.
He's been blaming OPEC this entire time, though.
That is incredible. That is incredible. He's blaming OPEC. Oh.
Another thing that he said. This one I love because it's just so, like, I believe this is probably the most factual statement he made.
Okay.
But he's not saying why it's the most factual statement that he's made. We've created more jobs in the first 8 months of my administration than any president in American history, total number of jobs created. You're coming out of an roughly 18 month, well, at that time it was 10 month, a 10-month pandemic in which, what was it, 10, 20 million people fired? I think it may have been, or laid off or put on. The numbers were astonishing. Record number unemployment, numbers you have not seen since the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Everything.
Actually worse than the Great Depression in some areas. Yeah.
Everything about that was terrible. The unemployment rate when he took office sat at 6.3%. The week he took office, more than 835,000 people filed for jobless benefits. But we all know that the economy started bouncing back. People started going back to work. People started looking for work again. And the people who were lucky enough to be able to find it, because there's this weird dichotomy going on right now where people are saying nobody's hiring. And the people who are looking are going, or where people are saying nobody's hiring, even if you're qualified. And then the people who are hiring saying nobody's looking. There's this weird dichotomy between the two. And I'm not really sure where that bridge is on why they aren't doing it. But for some reason, qualified people aren't getting hired and people are saying nobody's applying. Don't know why. So people have been finding work. People have been going back to work. By June, weekly jobless from the 835 from the 6.3 or sorry from the 835 people filing for jobless claims. By June, weekly jobless claims had fallen to less than half of what they were in January. But when you've lost 10 million jobs and you regain 4.5 million of them, which are the actual numbers, because I knew I put them in here, you're still at a negative 5.5.
Yep. Which is why we have the lowest workplace participation rate since they've been tracking it. And I think a large part, there's two different things that are happening right now. The low wage jobs aren't being filled because people aren't willing to work for that much anymore, because they've been getting stimmy checks and unemployment boosts for quite some time. And some of them found out different side hustles they could do on Etsy and Uber and Lyft and Uber Eats and OnlyFans and Amazon, whatever their delivery service is called, and all these other things. They've been able to make more money than they would in working these lower wage retail jobs. Now, of course, they're all about to find out what happens when you're self-employed and the IRS comes after you and you're not incorporated. But until then, what's happening is, so that's on the low wage side. And those jobs aren't worth what they want to get paid. So here comes automation. But anyway, on the higher wage side, it's that you can't train people fast enough for these jobs. And this is what happens when you play red light, green light with the economy. And you tell a factory or a distribution center or whatever else, yeah, you have to shut down because you're not essential. And so they shut down, and then they go, oh, okay, you can open back up and go back to business. Well, that business went out of business. Or they've been running with a skeleton crew. All their furloughed workers have found other jobs. And so now they're having to rehire and retrain people, which takes months. Sometimes years. So this is what happens when the government tries to centrally plan a community societal response to a virus. You end up destroying everything.
Yep. And if gonna say, I hate having to say this all the time, but I do. We were not fans of Trump. We hit Trump often.
No, gosh, yes.
But if you compare Trump's 2019 unemployment numbers at 3.5%,
yep,
he is still significantly better than Biden at 4.8.
Yep. Especially when you consider that unemployment only counts the people receiving unemployment benefits. It doesn't count the people who no longer qualify for unemployment benefits. Right. It's like counting the casualties of a shipwreck without including the ones that drowned and sank. R.I.P. Jack. There was room on the debris.
There was definitely room on the debris.
There was room for two.
There's definitely room on the debris. Yeah, Rose is a bitch. She is the greatest villain in movies.
Here it comes.
Nope, not getting into Titanic today. Not doing it. But Rose is the greatest.
You know what I can't believe, Matt, is that it got the freaking Oscar instead of, what was it? What was the one that didn't get this? What were the other ones that it was up against?
It was up against Good Will Hunting and As Good as It Gets.
Wow.
And
holy crap.
I think it may have been up against The Full Monty too. Like, it was up against a lot of good.
Yeah.
It was up against quality film.
Yeah.
And instead
it got the Oscar.
It got the Oscar because Hollywood wanted its first $1 billion movie more than they cared about quality. And if you
I don't know. Listen, just go ahead and sing.
James Cameron made Kate Winslet cry on the set of that movie multiple times because he's a dick. Remember that. And the greatest moment in Oscar movie history was where he lost for that other shitty movie, Avatar, because that movie sucked too. When it was Dances with Wolves, it was a much better film, and it wasn't animated. When when he
And when it
lost
was animated, it was Fern Gully.
It was.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't have an original bone in his body, because that romance in Titanic was one of the shittiest romances of any movie ever. Billy Zane did nothing wrong. Oh, he wanted to protect himself and his family. Ooh, big bad guy. Jeez, he's just awful. Yeah, just terrible.
Yeah.
Just absolutely terrible. But no, the poor American pauper dude that snuck down onto the other, or snuck up to the other floor of the boat in order to sneak in so he could pretend to be fancy for a night, ends up banging his fiance. Of course he's pissed
Just
off.
knocking her right out.
Just knocking her right out. And, you know, Billy Zane was a model. Billy Zane, he was a model. Like he was a supermodel. He was like a highest paid male supermodel. Leonardo DiCaprio was on Growing Pains. Come on, people.
And
God,
then
Titanic is so
she's
bad.
got a diamond that could have fed how many people? And instead, she goes out in the water. She's about to die, potentially leave a $100 million fortune to her heirs and assigns. And instead, she drops it into the water so that she can waste the other great things she had in her life.
And that's
throw that away too. Like she threw away Jack because he could have survived.
And not so. Also, you have to think. She went on to Bill Paxton's boat. Bill Paxton, yeah, he's the one that. Bill Paxton, he's the one that died. She went on to Bill Paxton's boat, and she was like, "No, I'm not going to go. I don't want to relive that." And then she finally goes out there, bores them with this terrible romance that they all like cry at because, I don't know, they've been stuck at sea for however long they've been looking for Titanic and looking for that stupid diamond. And then after saying, "Oh, I don't know where that is, lost it during the wreck. Let me bore you with this story about this awful romance where I cheated on my fiance and basically proved I'm a terrible person. I'm going to prove that again by dropping the heart of the sea diamond or heart of the ocean bull crap thing into the ocean and not say anything. And then she's going to die on his boat." Then she dies on his boat. So now he has to clean it up after he was like, "Please come on my boat. Please come on my boat." And she was like, "Okay, here, I'm going to come on your boat and totally scam you out of a free boat ride because the last one I went on didn't go real well, but at least now I'm getting over my fear and I can finally die." And then when she goes to heaven, she meets up with Jack, the guy that she basically murdered. And she's like, "Oh, look, I'm here with the one I loved." She had grandchildren in that movie. What about her husband? What about her poor, poor husband? The man that she spent a lifetime with after she murdered the man in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Where's he? I feel as though he should be slighted. Rose is... People can say Jenny all they want, but Jenny had redemption at the end. She was like, "Man, I had really screwed up my life. I'm going to turn it around." And then she died.
Wait, Jenny from Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to give Jenny a hard time, she made right on it at the end.
She made right.
Didn't murder anyone.
Right. Well.
Intentionally.
Right.
Didn't intentionally murder anyone.
Right. She may have given Hep C to some people.
Listen, they've got very powerful antiretrovirals now. I'm sure Forrest is fine. But
so what's fun fact for everybody out there? In the movie, it was AIDS or HIV. The Fauci disease. In the book,
Fauci.
In the book, it was Hep C.
Really?
Yeah, it was Hep C in the book.
Hep C.
Yeah.
That's another one that can be handled now with medication.
Right.
I remember the scene in Forrest Gump when he says, "Well, I know that I probably shouldn't date you and have sex with you, Jenny, but Dr. Fauci said that I only had to be scared of gay men."
He said, "Sex with random women is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And I got an AIDS-filled one."
Wow. And that's why Titanic is a terrible movie.
Terrible movie. Absolutely god-awful. Absolutely god-awful. Anybody that likes it, probably doesn't watch this show.
Wow. Anymore. So, okay. So speaking of
Biden. When it was brought, when the border was brought up, if they had the Titanic rule border, we wouldn't have this issue.
Yes.
When the border was brought up, he said, "I've been there before, and I haven't. I mean, I know it well. I guess I should go down, but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down." He hasn't been to the border. There is no evidence anywhere that Biden has been to the border. He's lying. Right, ever.
Yep.
Not when he was a senator, not when he was vice president. Never even went down to like El Paso, Texas on vacation and happened to be like, hey, there's the border. Never. He has never been to the border.
Ever.
And
do you remember when the media, we had a president once, and the media did this thing where they checked, like they kept a running count of all of his lies so that they could say, this president has 13,000 or 1,300 or whatever time documented times of lying. And then Joe Biden replaced him, and they said, well, thankfully, we don't have to count anymore. We can trust that we have someone good running in office. And then he just keeps lying.
So, in the Washington Post, I think is what you're talking about, where they were doing the Pinocchio counter or whatever it was for Trump. They ended that with Biden when he came into office. It wasn't because they said that he wasn't going to be lying, but the guy said it was just too much work to keep up with. Which actually says a lot, because he kept up with it with Trump. And he was like, well, this is just going to be too much work.
Yeah. It's going to be too much. This guy's going to lie even more than Trump.
The amount of spin I'm going to have to do is just too difficult.
Yes. The amount of counter fact checking and saying, well, but if you think about it, I mean, it's kind of true. I'm sure he's been to a border. And he's probably flown to Mexico, meaning he passed over it. And that's being added. He went over it. So definitely he was there. He's got zero Pinocchio. That's the truth.
Right. We've never said what border. We just keep saying the border. He's been to a lot of borders. Delaware's got like 3 of them.
Yeah.
4 if you count the ocean. Question from Eskimo Libertarian, genuinely wonderful Eskimo Libertarian, that 300% raise. Yes. It's on its way. Why do you want him to physically be at the border at some point?
I want him to go to see what it's like there, because they'll actually give him a full tour and explain what's happening there. And he can look. I don't think it's necessarily going to change things, but I want this man to see what his policies look like. I want him to go to the cages. The Joe Biden happy hour kiddie camp overflow facilities. I want him to go and actually see what it looks like. These people who are, being given these weird like cellophane things for blankets and being huddled together. Yeah, those weird looking things, and being huddled together in their Hot Pockets wrappers. And like what that actually looks like, and what that and experience that and see what it is. I want him to go and see. Well, they're gone now because his people rushed the bridges and kicked out all the Haitians and sent them back to Haiti. But I would have liked for him to see that and see this is what a combination of the war on drugs, imperialist war policy and foreign policy, your war on migration and empowering smuggling cartels. This is what this looks like. This is the end sum of your 40 years of participation in governance. That's why I want him to go. Is it going to change anything? Probably not. But I think he should at least have to look at it.
Yeah, I would say at least he should have to look at it, because when he's sitting there up on stage reading most of the words they put on the teleprompter. The other ones that he's just pulling right on out of that poop chute.
Right.
There is no crisis at the board. Look, hey, come on, look, there is no crisis. Everything going on down there is fine. Like, no, don't look. It's okay, man. And like I want him to go down there to look at it and say, no, it's not. Even if it's just to himself, I want him to say it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
And that brings us. No, instead, let me go with you know whose nose we don't ever have to rub in their failures? Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. You know why? Because Chris Reynolds is one fantastic lawyer. He's a fantastic attorney. Mm-hmm. If you get injured, if you are driving down the road in Florida and you get into a car accident that is not it might be your fault, but you don't admit it, and you're sitting there and your arm's just hanging, Chris will get you a lot of money. He'll get you more money if it's definitely not your fault. But he will make you so rich, you're going to want to give Muddied Waters 10% of whatever it is that he gets you.
Yeah, 20. You're going to want to give us a good bit of it, as much as 30%. And the reason you're going to want to give us half of it is because the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, is such a good attorney that he's going to get you the kind of $100 bill stacks where you can walk around and pretend that you got Beats headphones and be like, wow, I really like this jam. Hey, wait, this isn't music. This is money. This is cold, hard $100 bills that I pulled out of my bank account, and there's still so much more to spare. And that's why you're going to want to give us 75%. Personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. ChrisReynoldsLaw.com.
Yes. Be sure. Go there. All right. So I'm hoping
and this is the Anchor call-in moment where you can call into Anchor. You go to anchor.fm/muddied waters, leave us messages, and we will answer those messages right here on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, Anchor call-in moment. And then also, if you want to really be our friends, you can go to anchor.fm/muddied waters/subscribe and become a member of Muddy Waters Media today. Become a Mudsketeer in the muddied militia of mud. And then when you do that, for the low price of only $10 a month, you get access to ad-free episodes of the Muddy Waters of Freedom on Anchor. You also get access to exclusive content for members only, and you also become an exclusive invitee to the monthly Muddied Zoom, which is resuming next month, November 18th. And then from there on, every second Thursday of every month, where we are doing a Zoom call with me and Matt and who else knows of the Muddy team, Jason, Noel, Nulick, anyone else who wants to come on the Muddy team, and all of our Mudsketeer Muddy Mud skippers. And then we can all hang out and we stream it live so that everyone can watch it and be jealous of you, all for only $10 a month. Anchor.fm/muddied waters/subscribe.
Yes. Now, hopefully this works. I haven't tested it in a while, so.
Oh, good.
Fingers crossed. Let me know if you can hear it.
Yes.
Hey guys, it's Matt Hicks calling in on the personal injury attorney.
Nope.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Thanks, Spectrum.
Okay. Maybe it's that one. And I'm going to have to add this one. Okay.
Spectrum, bringing you disappointment since 2000.
Oh, good. They could hear it. So hopefully you can hear this.
Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, Anchor call-in moment, TM, with your Ghislaine Maxwell trial update.
Oh, good.
So the judge has decided that the jury selection process will be open and visible for the public. It cannot be done in secret. So
Okay,
I
good.
just want to give a little shout out to everybody who's on the crazy train of QAnon and all these other chase the pedophiles. This is your moment. This is what you've trained for your whole life.
Yeah.
This is the ring of pedophiles, and guess what? 2 of our former presidents are involved in this. One of them is our most recent former president. Hashtag Laser Legend.
Yes. It is very interesting how quiet they are being about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
Yeah.
It is, which means they might not kill her. They might just quietly throw her in jail and lock away the key and just hope that, because if they kill her, then it's going to have to become a big story. And
yeah, it
wow.
would be hard to kill her and not have it become like the biggest story. Like, it would be bigger than Epstein, because it'd be like, okay, well, you guys aren't even trying to make this hard for people to come up with.
You aren't even trying. Exactly. It's like when the second plane hit the tower and you knew that meant it wasn't an accident.
Right.
Like, it was already like when the first
plane.
one hit the tower. When the first one hit the tower, it's like, I mean, that's probably terrorism, right? Like that. I can't imagine the plane would accident. And then the second one, you're like, all right, yeah, no, this is definitely, that's not supposed to happen. This would be like the second tower.
Right.
And then when they do it to Bill Cosby, then that's like World Trade Center 7.
When they hit R. Kelly, that's World Trade Center 7.
When they hit R. Kelly.
Yeah.
R. Kelly is our building 7 because he was trying to buy NBC.
Right. So here's another one from Matt Hicks. I didn't screen these.
Hey guys, Matt Hicks again on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney law anchor call in moment. Just want to clarify something from my previous call in. At least 2 of our former presidents are involved in this pedophile ring.
Okay.
One of whom is our most recent former president. Hashtag Laser Legend.
Fair.
Yes.
Fair. I would
At
not be
least.
surprised if it's more, and possibly current.
What if the reason that they wouldn't let Dan Quayle become president is because he wouldn't participate in the pedophile ring? Also, side note, do you remember when Dan Quayle couldn't spell potato and there was almost universal agreement that he could never be president because he misspelled potato
Right.
or tomato or whatever
Potato.
it was?
It was potato.
Can we return to that standard? That like if someone is that, I feel like the last 2 presidents we aren't even trying. Like, say what you want about Barack Obama, but I guarantee you the man can spell potato. And at this point, I'm not certain Donald Trump could spell potato right, and I am fairly certain Joe Biden doesn't know what a potato is anymore.
I would bet that $1 trillion coin that Joe Biden does not know how to spell potato. Gun to head.
Yes.
Gun to head. And I not in the notes, but the $1 trillion coin that they've been talking about minting for a while.
Yep.
I'm waiting for it to look something along the like this, about this size, and seeing the headline come up where it says somebody is now the richest person in the world, probably unknowingly, after Joe Biden mistakes $1 trillion coin for quarter.
Local taco vendor, richest man on earth. Listen, if we're gonna make $1 trillion coins, let the taco truck people get it. I'm fine with that. So incidentally, just since we're talking about $1 trillion coins now, that's completely illegal. So the MMT people that are saying, oh well, we could just print out $1 trillion coin. See, it says here in this subsection of this rule, it says that the U.S. Treasury can print out platinum coins of any denomination. And so they go, oh, well, any denomination, that means $1 trillion. What they don't say is that it specifically says that it has to be what's the term they use? Not collectible, a curiosity piece. It's a specific term that's used for coins that specifically means illegal for circulation. It's only to be held as a collectible, and it doesn't even have its inherent whatever denomination they put on it. Doesn't matter because it's not that denomination, because you can't actually use it as legal tender. So no, they can't just print out a $1 trillion coin. Doesn't mean they won't do it, but the law says they can't do it. Doesn't mean they won't, but they're not supposed to.
I'm terrified. Here's our next one from the Cajun Libertarian, and he promises that this one will not get the show demonetized.
Oh,
Again.
Gosh. Again.
Putting my finger on the mute button.
Matthew, oh Matthew, guy on left at you, right next to America's Jew. He works at an aquarium and likes to feed the fish. He is the guy on the left, but that don't matter, he's the best. Super fan Sarah is very soon to expect, and I imagine that last time she cares my soon death. So au revoir to all my new friends that I've met. I'll see you on the other side with zero regrets. I have to write these stupid songs cause I'm narcissistic, but at least we will stay monetized because I wrote it. Matthew.
There's that. That's incredible. By the way, congratulations. That's good.
That line, I missed like the next two after it because I was like, excuse me, what do you know that I don't?
Oh, the lines after that were, and I'm going to die because I said that. And goodbye to everyone.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That was good. No, that was a good song.
That was a good song. Well, here's another.
I want that to be my ringtone.
I don't know if you want to say
but only for when you call.
Well, yeah. So here's another one from Cajun.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Oh, no.
He's not that pretty, but at least he is witty.
This is about me.
I'm just trying to find the reason he's trending. He's more than a Jew, I want you to see. He's more than our 2020 VP nominee. He is Tasha's husband. Cage Libertarian, sign off the Muddy Waters of Freedom. Yay, yay!
It starts with he's not cute.
He's not that pretty.
He's not that pretty.
Right, but at least he's witty.
He's witty. He's more than just a Jew.
Not just the 2020 LPVP nominee.
Yeah. These are good songs.
Yeah, I can't be mad at any of the originals he has done.
Beautiful, well done songs about the most obscure subjects possible. No, it's good. I like it. Thank you. Thank you,
Also,
Noel.
I may have found the ringtone for you.
That might also be my ringtone for everyone else. When it's you, it's the Matt one, and when it's everyone else, it's that one.
It's the you want your ringtone to immediately say, "He's not that pretty."
No, I want to start with he's more than just a Jew.
Okay.
So everyone hears that.
Fair. So we've got a couple here from our good friend in Murder Beach, Stephen Andrew Vitt.
Yes.
Hello, Guy on Left and Spike Cohen for the Chris Reynolds Attorney at Law Anchor Calling moment. I just wanted to see whether or not you guys heard about the backhanded apology by the SBA School Board Association to the White House and Merrick Garland for the DOJ and the FBI investigating parents going to school boards. Today they said that the letter was written by the president of the SBA, and they basically tried to backhand the apology and say that that letter was not supposed to be released, although it was. So I just want to hear your opinion on that, and guys, have a great rest of your show.
Thank you, Stephen. So,
Yeah,
actually,
thank you, Steve.
I knew that that letter wasn't supposed to be released. I believe they said something about it very early on, that that letter wasn't supposed to be released. But instead, it was something that they were going to hold on to until closer to 2022 midterms. Because they were going to be utilizing it to keep people from speaking out then. But it got leaked early, and that is why we all found out about it. Their half-hearted apology is not even half-hearted. It's completely bogus, and what they are saying is, we hope that you accept that. It's when a celebrity, I'm not going to mention any names, but when a celebrity does something, like, I don't know, shoot a cinematographer in the face,
Yeah.
even if it's 100% an accident, and he knows he needs to go out there and give some sort of mea culpa and say,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about what I did. It takes big brass balls to be in the movie business. God, I wish I could remember.
Thanks, fag.
I wish I could remember more of that thing.
Everyone, the world's gonna say, "Hey,
when working
great
with
job, fag."
when working with guns, you have to remember A, B, C. Always be checking to see if they're loaded.
Wow. There's that one too. I was using Team America. By the way, I was speaking of the acronym Film Actors
Film
Guild,
Actors Guild, right?
which is in a movie starring Alec Baldwin. So
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
It's starring Alec Baldwin.
It's good he's in it. Yeah, I mean the apology seemed more like, "Hey, we're sorry this got released. It wasn't supposed to." It's like, yeah, but are you sorry you tried to have the FBI investigate people who were coming to school board meetings to share their concerns?
Please accept our apology. Please accept.
Also, we still want the government to do this, and we are still going to do everything we can to block parents from giving their opinion. But we really didn't want you to know that. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's what I think. It's not real. Nothing they do is real. They're going to continue to push the envelope on authoritarianism until either we break or enough of us stop complying that they eventually give up, and it starts pushing slightly back in the other direction. So they are testing the boundaries as much as they can right now. Any apology that you get from them is not an apology.
When the threshold, what's happening is more and more states are introducing school choice and education. What's it called? The education savings accounts, ESAs, which allow you to take the money that you're getting and put it into education spending and not get taxed on it. Especially the school choice bills that allow for the home schools to get the money. When enough of that happens, you're going to see a total collapse of government-run education because it sucks and it's been terrible, and they will have pushed too hard too fast. And if they had just kept pushing it along slowly, it would have been fine for them. but now because they push too hard and too fast, they potentially could lose the entire government-run schooling system, which is probably one of the best things that could ever happen in this country.
Yes.
That is right up there with ending the Federal Reserve. I would still say ending the Federal Reserve would be the bigger one, but ending government-run education would be an absolute bonanza for freedom and for a better society.
So here's our next one from Stephen Andrew Vitt.
Hello, Guy on Left and Spike Cohen. This is Steve Witt with another Anchor Call-In moment. And I am calling this time about the Biden administration backtracking on the Title 42 Remain in Mexico policy that was put in place by Donald Trump. And seeing that it's pretty funny that the Biden administration has backtracked now, given all of the immigration that's been happening over the past 8 months since Biden took office. So just wanted to hear your opinion on that as well. And I will be listening to the show. Thank you guys much.
So the thing with the Remain in Mexico policy, Stephen, I'm glad you brought this up. If you're going to have the status quo that we have now, you essentially have one of three choices. Because what you have is a surge of migrants who do not qualify for being allowed in legally. They don't have the documentation they need to be able to apply for asylum in many cases because their governments are withholding it from them because the governments are trying to kill them. And they're not letting them in. They're not allowed to come in. They're not allowed to come in, and yet they are coming in. So one of three things can happen. You can either shove them into cages, which has been happening. You can disperse them across the country under the dark of night, which has also been happening. Or you can tell them they have to stay on the other side of the border in Mexico and let Mexico have the camps or the people, walking around waiting to be processed or whatever. Or you can do all three of those things, which is what's happening. I think Joe Biden realized the same thing Donald Trump realized. It is a PR nightmare to have camps filled with families. And it is also a PR nightmare to have all these dangerous migrants that you are warning everyone about being scattered across the country. Because they're not really a threat, but you said they were. And they're not allowed to work. They're not allowed to do anything. So it's not like they can start the American dream. They're living off of welfare. Yep. They're living off of the government because they have to be able to live. And that creates a problem. So he's figuring out that, you got to have them stay in Mexico. If you're going to keep this policy in place, you have to have them in Mexico or somewhere else, if only to avoid the PR nightmare. Do I think that that's going to I would hope that would lead to him realizing you have to end the war on drugs, you have to end the war on migration, you have to end these bad policies. Do I think he's going to do that? Absolutely not. But that's why he's doing this. It's the pressure valve on PR is to leave him over there. That's the least PR nightmare of those three scenarios.
And for Biden to pick this back up shouldn't be surprising. He early in his presidency, he said that he wasn't going to build the wall, and then early in his presidency, he was using eminent domain in order to finish off sections of the wall.
Yep.
The fact, they weren't going to have no more children in cages, and who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages? We all remember that moment.
Best thing that man ever said.
Was that in the first debate? Because that first debate was the
I think that was second debate.
I think it was.
I think the second debate. The first debate was just in. What? It might have been first debate.
Man, that was a dumpster.
Whenever it was, I feel like it was the second one because the first one was the one where they just, come on, man, shut up. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. I think that it was the second debate, but I may be wrong.
You're a clown, man. You're a clown. Come on, man. You're a clown.
Will you shut up, man? Will you shut up, man?
Will you just shut up?
The two greatest things that Donald Trump ever did was say that, and also end both the Clinton and Bush political dynasties.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah.
Anyway, as you were saying.
Yeah, sorry. No, you're good. So if anybody was shocked that he went back with the stay in Mexico policy, keep him in Mexico, whatever it's
Yep.
called,
We're made in Mexico.
you
Yeah.
yeah, you shouldn't be shocked. You absolutely
No.
shouldn't be shocked because he has been doing it his entire presidency. It's part of the reason he doesn't go to the border because he knows what he's doing. Well, his handlers know what is going on down there, and if he goes down there and doesn't try to correct it, it would be terrible for optics. So no, he doesn't go. Um so yeah, there you go, Stephen. And here is our last one from Stephen Witt.
Hey guys, I've got one more anchor call-in moment here, and this is talking about the supply chain issues that's going on currently. For me, I don't really consider it a supply chain issue. More so, this is the imports that are coming over from Asia and whatnot. Biggest reason why they're having such a backup at the ports right now over in California is there's a law in the books that doesn't allow trucks that are older than 2013 that don't have DEF systems on them to go on to government property on the ports, as well as I'm also hearing different things about having a chassis shortage, which there's specialized chassis to haul the containers off the ports, as well as with the 24 hours of the ports running, it's very difficult to go in, do those pickups at nighttime, and then go and deliver to a distribution center and whatnot. So that's part of the issue.
And yes, so a lot of the reasons that you are seeing so many issues in the supply chain, and you see all of the ships parked outside or anchored out off of the coast of California, off the coast of LA, there is because of many times government regulations in California. You also have union rules that they have to abide by out there that are causing more of the issues. Much of the problems, as we've been saying for 18 months now, many of the problems that you are seeing when it comes to the supply chain, anything like that, is because the government attempted to fix something using the government.
Yes.
And we all know that that is not a way to do it. Last week, Governor DeSantis here in Florida said, look, our ports are open. Come around Panama, just drop them off here. We're a right to work state, so we don't have unions. We don't have forced unions. So if people want to work, they can just go and start working immediately. And a lot of ships, I think, are going to start coming this way. He's like, we have the people, we have the power. Let's do it. Let's get this stuff in, and you don't even have to sit there and wait for them to turn around.
Right. Yeah. Stephen, these are all reasons that there hasn't been able to be a massive ramp up to deal with the shortage of labor and the supply chain issues that are in other countries as well. That's why we haven't been able to have a fast ramp up. The reason why this even became a crisis to begin with is because when the government played red light, green light with the economy, shut down entire industries because they weren't essential, and then opened them and said, okay, you can be open for the next 2 months unless the cases go up this much. And then if that happens, you got to shut back down again. You can't operate a business that way. So you've had businesses shut down. You've had businesses that have been running on skeleton crews. You've had furloughed workers that have gotten jobs somewhere else and aren't coming back to those jobs. So now they're having to ramp up and hire new people. It is many things. And the sclerotic nature of the supply chain itself finally met its match with these lockdowns and mandates. Now you have big companies that can't ramp up their hiring as much as they'd like to, even with the built-in, delays in training and stuff, because you got to be vaccinated. And there are about 40, the people that are, when they show these numbers saying that, 70 something percent or 60 something percent of Americans are vaccinated. And by the way, they're not fully vaccinated anymore because the effectiveness goes down. So it's actually probably, in terms of what the U.S. government considers fully vaccinated, probably back down to 50%. And it will probably stay at 50% because you have to keep getting boosters. And you're going to have more and more people going, no, I'm not doing the boosters. I'm done with this. No, thank you. And that number is even lower for working age people. So it's the older people that have very high rates of vaccination for understandable reasons. They're the ones who are exponentially more likely to die by sometimes 1 or 2 orders of magnitude. Well, I guess never 2 orders of magnitude because that'd be 100%. But they by several times. I mean, it is the people in their 60s, late 60s, 70s, and 80s who are not, who actually have a higher chance of dying. So of course they're the ones that are getting fully vaccinated. They're also the ones not working the docks. So they're the ones that are working aren't vaccinated, and they're being told you can't work anymore. And they're going, okay, I guess I'm not working anymore. And so all of these things together, including the things you brought up, are why we're having the problems we're having. And they're not going away until every one of us, or enough of us, realize that COVID's not going away. These are not temporary measures. Every couple months, it's going to go, the case and death rates are going to go up. And then after a couple months, it's going to go back down. And then after a few months, it's going to go back up. And after a couple months, it's going to go back down. And these waves are not going away, thanks to probably gain of function research. We now have this, or at least possibly gain of function research. We now have this forever. It's not going away. It's endemic. We have to decide how we want to live our lives, and we have to resist. Yes. And if that means they're going to Florida in the meantime, great. Good for Florida.
I mean, bring them here. Bring them here. Don't worry about that. Bring them here, and Florida's got a ton of ports. Bring them here. Bring all of the ships here.
Bring them here.
Bring the ships to Florida. On a side note, DeSantis, he didn't say, he did not decree this, but he said that he is going to attempt to get a bill passed in special session that any company that forces their employees to get vaccinated are liable for any damages that employee has because of the vaccine.
I have no problem with that.
I have no problem with that. He's not saying
I don't have a problem with that.
Like, he has a like, you can't ask for cards when people are coming into your business. Okay. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that, but whatever. On this one, I like it because
that I'm not a fan of. This I don't mind, and I wish he does it for everything. If you want to mandate some kind of medical thing for your people to work there, then you're responsible for it.
Right, and I think that's how he's going to word it.
I'm fine with that.
If
I have no problem. That'd be liable for it.
Yeah, if something goes wrong, they can sue you, and it's like in what he said, if they get sick. Like, just sick, not, dead or anything else. Like, if they just get, if they're out for a few days because they got sick from this thing, they can sue you.
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
No, none whatsoever.
And that's a form of nullification, because if enough states do that, if that's successful and enough states do that, that's going to put even more pressure on the businesses to turn around to OSHA and to the federal government and say, we can't do that. Like, you're killing us. We can't find people to work for us. Now we're held liable if there's any adverse reactions or anything like that, or any allergies or anything like that. You're not allowing us to have exemptions for these things. Something's got to give here, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm fine with it both in terms of its respect for property rights, respect for accountability and liability for those who are causing the damage, and also for the nullification factor that it has. I like that. I like that way more than the other stuff.
I do too. I do too. And the other thing I like about it is that he's calling a special session to have them come and vote on it and make it a bill, because that way it's not him signing executive order, just saying this is now how it is.
I like that too.
Yeah, I like that too. I don't agree with the DeSantis on everything, but that I loved. I was like,
I like that.
I like that. Brilliant plan.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
So here's our last one. Fingers crossed this isn't inappropriate.
Hey there, Spike and guy on left. This is James M. Ray calling in on the Chris Reynolds attorney at law personal, something like that, anchor call-in moment. Anyway, I am calling to thank Spike for coming here at the behest of Women's Voices of Southwest Florida, which is Facebook / Women's Voices.swfl. So Women's Voices is one word. They're really, really nice to us. They have been great. And
They were.
Spike's going to talk about it more, I'm sure. But the point of this call is that Spike and Tasha need to fall in love with the Sarasota area and move to a condo with a beautiful view on Siesta Key, at least 3 floors up, because I don't trust that hurricane spirits thing. Anyway, love you guys.
Real quick before I play the last 3 seconds of this, Daniel Sayers says, and if you are in Florida and this bill passes, call Chris Reynolds.
Yes.
Call
if
Chris
you want to
Reynolds.
get the picture, get the Chris Reynolds picture back up so we can.
Where is it? There it is.
If you end up, call Chris Reynolds if this bill passes and you are required to take the vaccine to keep your job and you have any adverse reactions, you or your heirs and assigns if you die can call Chris Reynolds, personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, by going to chrisreynoldslaw.com and find out today and get that money, get that sweet money.
Get that money, because you might feel inclined to give us 80-90% of it.
At least 100%.
Right.
Especially if you're dead. Like, your kids are probably going to throw it in the sea because they were so inspired by Titanic. What a garbage movie that was, huh, Matt?
Thanks very much for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Words I never wanted to hear James Ray say. God,
you're as bad as him. Yeah, no, we had a really great time in Sarasota. James came out. He tried to thorium kill all the ladies there, and we had a great conversation about it. And yeah, everything went really well. I was there for like 24 hours. I was there for such a short period of time that I didn't get to even see my partner here, but I did get to see Muddied Waters Media co-founder Mohammed Shaker.
Yep.
And we got to hang out and have a really good lunch. I love him so much. He's a great guy. And it was just a really good trip. It sucks that the only bad thing was that you weren't there, but we literally had a really great productive trip. Got to make some new allies and friends, got to see Mohammed, got to see James and everyone, got to have some really good fish-based meals. I know you're surprised to hear that.
That's
and overlooking the water,
did
the whole thing was beautiful.
Did you have the grouper?
I had the red snapper,
okay.
which holy crap.
Yeah.
Holy crap, was that good?
I've been I haven't been on a grouper kick, but I've been kind of craving grouper recently, which is weird.
Yeah. I'm gonna have grouper or sea bass or swordfish the next time it's available at a restaurant that I go to. But yeah, the red snapper, man, my goodness, was that good. And then the next day I had what I have. The view was so good I forgot what I ate. Oh, I had some hummus and I had some kind of fish something. But yeah, it was a great trip.
Nice. Yeah, wish I could have made it. Like, I had so much to do Monday, and
you were working. Yeah, you were working.
I was working, and I thought about going down. I thought about going down and like filming something with you on Monday, but then I saw your calendar and I went, I'm not driving down there.
Yeah, it was nuts, and it was nuts. Like it would have been nuts to try. Yeah, it would have. We could have maybe carved out 10 minutes. It was stupid, or not stupid, but it was just crazy. It was a crazy schedule, and you were working all day. I was literally there. So, folks, I was there for less than 24 hours total. Yeah. I was there for 22 hours. And that included like sleeping for 4 hours in between that night and the morning session, of the county board meeting.
Yep. So that was your personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment. If you want to be on next week's Anchor Call-In Moment, all you have to do is go to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters. It's going to be going across the bottom of the screen here in just a second. And not that one, the other one. And hit the message button. hit the message button, leave us a message. We will play them live on the air. Right
There
now,
it
it's
is.
right across the bottom. This way. It's one of those ways. And should you feel so inclined, all you have to do, or should you feel so inclined, hit the subscribe button. $9.99 a month. You get exclusive content. You get featured videos. You get access to the subscriber group on Facebook. You get 10% off at the Muddied Waters store, muddiedwatersmedia.com/store. And yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
No, thank you.
Cool. And if you live in Florida and you are forced to get the vaccine and the DeSantis bill passes, call Chris Reynolds.
Sue your employer and call Chris Reynolds.
That's right. And then
or have
give
your
us,
survivors put
give us
in
a-
your I'm dying note. Say, my final wish is for you all to come together and go to chrisreynoldslaw.com and sue the company. What did this to me?
yes.
Sue the company. What killed your paw?
So, speaking of companies that possibly kill you, Pfizer.
I mean, we are talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advocacy group Public Citizen has released a number of contracts that Pfizer has with separate countries. If you have not read these, fear not.
Yes.
Because we are here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're thinking, well, Pfizer's a mega corporation with offices all over the world, and of course this contract's going to be above board.
Yeah.
Well, if you're thinking that, you're not watching this show.
No.
No, you're watching CNN.
You're watching programming that's brought to you by Pfizer.
Right, exactly. You're watching. Oh God, what's that guy's name? The late night show host that's terrible that I used to like a lot when he was on Comedy
That's all
Central.
of them. Stephen Colbert.
Yes. If you think the Pfizer contracts are above board, you're watching Stephen Colbert.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Brought to you by Pfizer. So, according to Public Citizen, Pfizer has the power to keep government silent on the terms. In January, Brazil pointed to 5 terms that it found problematic, ranging from a sovereign immunity waiver on public assets to a lack of penalties for Pfizer if deliveries were late.
Yeah.
Less than 2 months later, the Brazilian government accepted a contract with Pfizer that contained most of the same terms that the government once deemed unfair. Because, they wanted the vaccine. And Pfizer just waited them out.
Yeah. And said, fine, your people will die. Or you can give us immunity, you get no immunity, and we can actually pre-seize publicly owned assets. Anyway, I'm skipping ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, a little bit, but Brazil waived sovereign immunity, imposed no penalties on Pfizer for late deliveries, agreed to resolve disputes under a secret private arbitration under the laws of New York, and broadly indemnified Pfizer for any civil claims.
Yeah.
The contract.
And they weren't allowed to tell anyone either.
Right. The contract also contains an additional term not included in other Latin American agreements. The Brazilian government is prohibited from making any public announcement concerning the existence, subject matter, or terms of the agreement, or commenting on its relationship with Pfizer without the prior written consent of the company. Because they talked about it in January. So they said, we're going to throw this in as well. Pfizer silenced the Brazilian government.
Yeah.
Silenced it. A similar non-disclosure provision is contained in the contract with the European Commission and the U.S. government. However, the obligation applies to both parties. So Pfizer can't talk about anything that's in it, and the U.S. government can't. Same with the British government or the European Commission. Not unless all parties agree. Pfizer, according to these contracts, is in complete control of the supply. And as we already know, they can't be punished for anything that comes out late. If there is a shortage in the supply and they can't meet the demand that they've promised, no penalty. But the CEO of Pfizer,
No penalty.
Albert Bourla, called a voluntary World Health Organization effort to share intellectual property to bolster vaccine production nonsense and dangerous. He also said President Biden's decision to back the TRIPS waiver on intellectual property was so wrong. Now, for anybody who isn't sure what the TRIPS waiver is, that would temporarily waive intellectual property rights protections for technologies needed to prevent, contain, or treat COVID-19, including vaccines and vaccine-related technologies. IP, says Bourla, which is the blood of the private sector, is what brought a solution to this pandemic, and it is not a barrier right now. And before, I'm certain you have comments. That's funny, Pfizer, because I would not consider you the private sector taking all of that government money and stealing all of the private citizens' lands for projects that aren't even finished. I would consider you kind of an arm of the government and not the private sector.
I mean, I would call you the head of the government to some extent, at least when it comes to this. You know, you are a very dominant arm when it comes specifically to this. You have a company who is telling world governments, including the US, that they are to be indemnified for any liability for anything they do. That those governments have to waive their sovereign immunity, which, by the way, sovereign immunity shouldn't exist, but not just for Pfizer. It shouldn't exist at all. It shouldn't just be waived for a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And also in the provision, and I don't know, this might be further down in the notes, it says that if you participate in buying one of these contracts, you are not allowed to donate any of the Pfizer vaccines or to accept donations of any of the Pfizer vaccines. If you want to buy one Pfizer vaccine from us, you have to buy all of your Pfizer vaccines from us, and you can't give any of them away to anyone else. This is a shakedown.
Yes. Yeah, what you're talking about in the Albania draft contract and the Brazil and Colombia agreement, Pfizer will decide adjustments to delivery schedule based on principles the corporation will decide. Albania, Brazil, and Colombia shall be deemed to agree to any revision. They have no choice. As a condition to entering the agreement, the Colombian government is required to demonstrate in manner satisfactory to suppliers that the suppliers and their affiliates will have adequate protection as determined by the supplier's sole discretion from liability.
Wow.
Colombia is requiring to certify Pfizer the value of, this isn't that part, I thought it was. Pfizer the value of contingent obligations like potential future liability, and to start appropriating funds to cover the contingent obligation according to a contribution program. Where do you think the contributions are going to come from? The taxpayers in Colombia.
Yes. You want to talk about a Colombian drug cartel?
Pfizer became the biggest.
The Sinaloa cartel couldn't hope to have these kinds of terms with any government.
So the contract shift responsibility for any intellectual property infringement that Pfizer might commit to the government purchasers. So even though Borla said intellectual property is the blood of the private sector in these contracts, if Pfizer steals some other company's intellectual property in order to make the vaccines, I don't know, work, and then starts distributing those, Pfizer is not at fault, but instead the governments have to pay for it.
The old classic, if I get caught stealing something, you got to pay for it clause.
Right. So if another vaccine maker sued Pfizer for patent infringement in Colombia, the contract requires the Colombian government to foot the bill. At Pfizer's request, Colombia is required to defend the company. Pfizer also explicitly says that it does not guarantee that its product does not violate third-party IP or that it needs additional licenses.
Interesting. By the way, there's a good chance that last clause is going to get activated.
Yeah. Yes.
Incredible.
So if the UK can't resolve contract dispute with Pfizer, a secret panel of 3 private arbitrators, not a UK court, is empowered under the contract to make the final decision. Both parties are required to keep everything a secret. The parties agree to keep confidential the existence of the arbitration, the arbitral proceedings, the submissions made by the parties, and the decision made by the arbitral tribunal, which I feel they're a public company. I feel as though this should be public, all of this. Sorry for all the plosives on
these are public governments. So what's going to happen? They're going to issue a Freedom of Information Act request, and the courts are going to go, no, it's said to have to be private.
Agreed. But if the UK doesn't want to give me information because I don't spend any money in the UK, I get it. Pfizer,
right?
Anybody can buy it across the globe.
Yes. Oh, in my mind, both parties should be sharing. There is absolutely no reason that a large publicly traded company's agreement with a government should be in any way anything but transparent.
Yes. So Pfizer required Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and the Dominican Republic and Peru to waive sovereign immunity. In the case of Brazil, Chile, and Colombia, the government expressly and irrevocably waives any right of immunity which either it or its assets may have or acquire in the future to enforce any arbitration award. For Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and the Dominican Republic, this includes immunity against precautionary seizure of any of its assets. As one legal contract expert here in the U.S. said, that would be like the United States putting up the Grand Canyon as collateral for the vaccine.
Yes. And what I loved was that Pfizer's people said, this is all preposterous. We'd never seize the Grand Canyon. Because that's the concern, right?
Right.
The concern was that they were going to seize the Grand Canyon.
Yep. There it is. The contract allows Pfizer to request that courts use state assets as a guarantee that Pfizer will be paid an arbitral award and or use the assets to compensate Pfizer if the government does not pay. And in U.S. courts, just so everybody knows, the U.S. contract is very private and you can't get an unredacted copy of it. So we can only base what is in it on what we have seen in others. But if similar language is in it, in U.S. courts, these assets could include foreign bank accounts, foreign investments, foreign commercial property, including the assets of state-owned enterprises like airlines and oil companies. So you may buy a ticket on Southwest and board Pfizer Air. Pfizer.
Pfizer, where they blow dart you with vaccines on your way in. The an oil company. They're saying that they can seize foreign-owned oil. So U.S.-owned oil rigs in international waters.
Yeah.
This is the only other organization I know that swings their stuff around like this is the U.S. federal government. And at times the Chinese government and Russian government, but only in their limited region of the world. The only one that goes to like Latin America, Europe, like just across the planet and is like, yeah, you have to do everything we say or else people are going to die. That's the U.S. government.
And John Bartasak has a good point. A means to restrict travel until you get the vaccine.
I could see that.
I could see that. Well, he didn't say until you get the vaccine, but I'm just putting that in for him because that means that
it is a means to restrict travel. Yeah.
Yeah, and if Pfizer's the one doing it, they'll be like, no, you have to have all of our vaccines and all of our boosters because we're getting paid by Daddy Uncle Sam. That's weird. Why did I say it that way? Daddy Uncle. Pfizer.
Daddy Uncle Sam.
Daddy Uncle Sam. Pfizer is no longer in New York. They're now in Maine.
Wow.
Good thing I don't run for public office. I'd
like to be clear, I didn't say that.
Right. So one world government coming soon, a division of Pfizer. Yes. Ellie. Yes. Ellie. So what Pfizer has essentially done here is they've handcuffed the governments and they've said, nope, we are going to be keeping you tight-lipped on everything. You aren't allowed to say anything or else we can sue you or take all of your supply and you still have to pay us the full amount. They have made themselves more powerful than the governments they have these contracts with.
Yep.
Which goes to show two things. One, they wouldn't have been able to get there without the government giving them all the governments giving them the money that they've been giving them throughout all of this. But it also shows you that the government that we have, the governments all across the world, are essentially useless if a company that they have propped up can now essentially silence them on everything.
Yep. They aren't
the real powers.
Yeah, no, they aren't. And so I've heard people say to me because I posted about this a few days ago now, I guess shortly after the last episode of Muddy Waters Freedom. And I put it out and people said, see, this is proof that we need governments to keep big companies in check or else they'll take over and tell us all how to live our lives. And I said, no, this is proof that governments are powerless to stop the companies that they prop up and that none of this could exist without the power of government. It is government that is protecting their IP. It is government that is protecting their, that is mandating that you get it. It is government that is subsidizing it so that they don't have to charge a fair market value for it. It is government that is upholding these secret contracts and forcing someone else to pay for it. None of this would be happening under a free market society. Under a free market society, if a vaccine was necessary, there would be so many more suppliers of it, especially once you get into international, because you wouldn't have multinational IP agreements and all this nonsense. You'd have so many different people supplying so many different versions. You would have so much more rigorous controls of making sure, or not controls, but rigorous accountability for if something goes wrong, which inherently is going to have a controlling effect on those companies to make sure that what they're putting out is safe, because they're not literally saying, well, there's a good chance we're going to end up hurting people, so you have to protect us or indemnify us. None of this exists without the coercive power and centralized planning power of the state. So this is the monster that government created. It could not exist in a truly free market society.
Yes. So Pfizer, they will say that they're doing this to help you. They aren't. They're doing this to line their own pockets. I didn't put it in here.
Yep.
I think the U.S. government gave them $2 billion. The U.K. gave them $1 billion. They got like $500 million from two of the country. Like, they're making like $7 billion on this vaccine total so far.
So far.
So far. And Steve South says, who will enforce Pfizer's contract if when the governments can't pay? Will Pfizer hire their own army? No. So most of these places have already paid. They've already paid. They may not pay for boosters in the future, but right now, all of the pressure is on Pfizer, which they don't have any pressure because they can't be sued if they default in any way. So they've already been paid. They could just essentially say, okay, well, we're done making this now. So, all right, we're done. There's nothing left. And there would be no retribution. The governments would not be able to come back to them because it's in the contract. So Pfizer doesn't have to worry about that. And should something happen where let's say Brazil doesn't want to give up one of their state assets to Pfizer, I'm just going to go out in the dark and say Pfizer can pay their army better.
At this point.
Yeah.
And here, the other thing is this. The governments aren't going to reach that point because they just steal it from you. They just steal it from the taxpayer. Governments have no problem paying for stuff. They just steal. They're thieves.
Yep.
You've got thieves negotiating with one of the cartels they've created. There's no problem paying. They can just print out more money. All these countries have central banks. They can just print out more money and give them that, and stick you with the bill for it with interest. So that's not an issue. They'll definitely get paid.
Yep. Not an issue at all. So that concludes this week's episode
This cheery episode
of Muddied Waters of Freedom on Wednesday.
Yes.
So, Spike, you don't have a show tomorrow.
No, because today would be usually when I do the show.
Right.
But we're doing this instead because I wasn't going to be able to be back here in time on Tuesday, so we did the show here. So instead, tomorrow is Thursday, which means that's the writer's block. And who's your guest for the writer's block?
Tomorrow I have Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman's coming on my episode tomorrow, and he is running for police commissioner of Detroit.
Yes. He's running for police commissioner of Detroit. He's in a two-way race, and it's gotten ugly. You're going to have some stuff to talk with him about that because his opponent is literally stealing his signs, and he has video proof of it. It's gotten nasty. So then I will be, where am I going to be? Oh, on Friday, actually on Saturday, I will be on Friday, join Noel and Melik for Cajun and Eskimo from Bayous to Igloos at 9:30 Eastern. Then on Saturday, come join me out in Birmingham, Alabama. I will be there with Jonathan Reels. We will be collecting signatures to get him on the ballot to be the next congressman in his district. I want to say the 3rd district of Alabama. I should probably learn that before I collect signatures for him. And then join us here on Monday for the next episode of Mr. America, The Bearded Truth with Matt Lyon. Wow. Jason Lyon. And then on Tuesday,
and Jason's
join us
guest,
right back here.
Jason's guest.
Oh, who's Jason's guest?
Man, I shouldn't have spoke up. Sean Grijalva.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Sean Grijalva. And Then join us next week
I don't know who Sean is.
on
I just looked at
Tuesday.
the name. I was like, I don't know. How to
Sean
say this.
Gravalva. He's a good guy. I love Sean Gravalva. Join us next Tuesday. Same muddy place, original muddy time, normal muddy time for the next fan-damn-less episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I parse through the week's events like the increasingly dour and cynical men we are.
So, Spike, if someone were trying to find us on the internet, would that be possible?
Yes. So possible, in fact, that it's eminently possible. So you can go to
I don't know how
Anchor.fm.
Yes.
Slash
Go to Anchor.
slash Muddy Waters.
Go to
Slash Muddy Waters. Where you can listen to all of our episodes. And you can also Matt, guess what? You can leave a message for us.
That's right. You can leave us messages.
You're on this show, and then you can also become a subscriber by going to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe. And for only $9.99 a month, you get access to exclusive content, ad-free episodes, and access to the Muddied Zoom. Also, or you can find this in every episode of my fellow, the Muddy Waters of Freedom, of all episodes of our shows on muddywatersmedia.com. Matt?
Big shout out to Jason Lyon. Also, again, happy belated birthday to Jason, even though I wish him happy birthday on Thursday.
Yes, happy belated birthday, Jason.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow for the Writer's Block, where I will have Scotty Bowman on. Tune in all week long. We've got shows coming up every day except for the weekend, where Spike will be pumping out content for all of you out there who just want to collect it like squirrels in winter, before winter, collecting up your little acorns of liberty all weekend long with Spike, Jason Lyon, us right back here next Tuesday, Mighty Waters of Freedom. Have a great weekend. And where we're going.
We don't need roads.
And now, Matt Wright and